Hello and welcome. My name is Carol Carter and I'm the founder and CEO of GlobalMindED. We are all about creating a capable and diverse talent pipeline for women, people of color, underrepresented populations, LGBTQ. We're celebrating Pride Month, the month of June right now. And we're here for a really important panel and topic today with incredible leaders, and it's sponsored by CELED, who focus on helping to become literate the 40 million Americans in this country who don't have basic reading, writing skills and have amazing talent and a lot of ability to contribute in our society. So we are really glad to have them here today and all the perspectives that will be represented. But before we get started and before I introduce Sonali, who's going to be the panel leader, we have a real treat in an amazing woman who is part of the web, the fabric of incredible people that CELED pulls together. And her name is Teneia. And we met last month. We did a virtual graduation for the class of 2020, and she started it with an incredible song. So she's going to start us off for this panel today. And we're going to have a treat for you with her at the end of the session as well. So Teneia, welcome, and so honored that you're able to be with us.
Thank you for having me. So I just want to start out by saying thank you all from the bottom of my heart for thinking of me and wanting my music here and just celebrating music at this tough time. We're all in a really difficult space, but I think it's such a beautiful space because what we get to do now is build something and tear things down that have not been working for everybody. And so my biggest thing, I always come up from a place of love and wanting more equality in the world. But in order to be able to do that, I think we have to take action and we have to move forward in a way that's really beautiful, really positive, and sometimes is not easy. And it's going to be messy, and I think that's what we're seeing today. But I want to start with this song, and it's called Move. Sail away. No, don't just hide it. Sail away. No, don't look back here. Sail away. Sail away. Don't just stop it. Fade away. No, don't lose time. Fade away. No, don't just hurt it. Fade away. Fade away. Don't just stop it. Why don't you move, 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 move? Why don't you move, move? Don't just stop it. Better days. Know that there will be better days. Girl, just move forward to better days. Better days. Don't get lost here. But will you release the pain? Oh, darling, will you release the pain? Girl, don't just live here. Release the pain. Release the pain. Don't just stop it. Why don't you move, move, move? you need is another way. All you have is another lovely day to find, to find ways to move, don't just stop here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Teneia. That was fabulous. So Teneia just did an introduction for the panel that we have today for GlobalMindED Virtual, which is called The Future of Work is Mobile and Adaptive, Educating and Employing the Least Resourced with Digital Solutions During and After COVID. We have to say we wrote this maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago before the recent racial injustices that have also happened in the police brutality. So there's so many different things that intersect right now that the work of CellEd addresses. So we're really delighted to have them be here. And it's my pleasure to introduce Sonali Joshi. She brings more than 20 years of experience in strategic planning, program implementation, and social innovation, working with companies such as McDonald's, Hewlett-Packard, and United Way. She has spent most of her career designing and implementing solutions for vulnerable populations around the world. She holds an MBA from UC Berkeley's Haas School of Business. So it's my pleasure to introduce Sonali. Welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. I am so honored to be here and so honored to be here with such an amazing group of women. It's great that we're all here together and gathered, and really I'm glad we got to pull this panel together that has such amazing people who have dedicated careers, whether they're at the early stage of their careers or at the end of their careers, really trying to change the world and make it a better place from whatever vantage point they have, whether they're building companies, whether they're musicians, foundations, government sectors. Like, we have such an amazing diverse panel here that I'm really excited. Carol, do you want me to introduce the panelists now or wait until they speak? It's up to you.
You know, I would say whatever is easiest. I mean, maybe introduce everybody because it is an incredible group of women from all representing so many backgrounds. So
perfect. I will turn it to Becky first, since she's next on my screen. Becky? Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
There, can you hear me now? Okay, I'm Becky Dyer. I'm the Chief Mission Officer for the Barbara Bush Foundation, at least for the next 2 days when I officially retire. I have a 45-year career in adult education and 22 years with the Barbara Bush Foundation. Adult literacy is my passion, and I've been very fortunate to have such a rich and rewarding career. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Grazia?
Hi everyone, my name is Grazia. I'm originally from Ecuador, and I have over 8 years of experience in ESL teaching, as well as curriculum development and program management. Currently, I'm the academic coordinator as well as a teacher at California College of Communications, which is a private language school in Santa Clara, California. I'm also helping CellEd with some of the coaching efforts and curriculum work. And in the past, I've worked managing mostly digital literacy programs for a nonprofit in the Bay Area. I'm very happy to be here.
Welcome. Jessica, you're next on my screen. I know you're not officially talking, but you want to say hi to everyone?
Hi, everyone. I love having this front row seat around all this incredible wisdom, and I'm here to listen and learn from you all. Thank you.
Jessica Rothenberg-Alami is the CEO of CellEd, just for those of you who are not aware. Dr. Laura Gonzalez-Murphy.
Laura, please. Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm Laura Gonzalez Murphy. I am the Director of Immigration Policy and Research at the New York State Department of State. This is somewhat about a new position in a way, maybe a year now, but time is a blur lately. But it's really in reaction and response to all the changes in the immigration field that we're feeling at the federal level. So serving as an advisor to the state in terms of immigration issues. But prior to that, and where I had the pleasure to start partnering with CELED, and we continue with that work, even I was the director of the Office for New Americans, which is also an office created by the governor. And since then, again, as I mentioned, it's been a pleasure to work with CELED on the implementation of those tools throughout the state. I'm originally from the south of Mexico, from Waukecha, but been here a lifetime as well and loving it. So thank you for inviting me to this amazing panel presentation. And the music, it's such a treat.
Great way to have a Friday afternoon start. Thank you, both of you. Waukecha?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Waukecha Wilkerson. I am a lot of things. Today, I will be wearing the hat as a parenting student advocate. By day, I am a customer service supervisor for a national skincare brand. And I'm currently working on a project with CELED and Jessica and the rest of the team to develop some curriculum for a new space that we'll probably bring up and talk about later on during the panel. But I'm really humbled and honored to be a part of such an esteemed group of women. Thank you so much, Teneia. That was your music was so therapeutic, and it really centered us, I think, to get ready for this discussion. So thank you, everyone. Oh, and I'm a student, so I am now a Sacramento State Hornet. I'm in my third year studying psychology, hopefully to graduate next fall. So thank you.
Thank you. Sharon?
Hello, everybody. My name is Sharon Bonney. I am the CEO for the Coalition on Adult Basic Education. I've been with COABE in many different forms over the past 20 years, and we provide leadership, professional development, advocacy, and communication to the field of 65,000 plus adult educators who work with 1.5 million adult learners across the country.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Teneia, do you want to say anything else before we get started? I know everyone had the pleasure to hear Teneia's amazing voice. That's a no. We will hear more from Teneia a little bit later as well, and we're so thrilled she could join. Okay, let me share my screen. Can everyone see my screen? Please work. Okay. Whoops, we are not at the beginning. Excuse me. Okay. We've already done introductions, and Carol's already kind of defined who we all are. So we are really excited to get this conversation started about the future of work and how mobile and really adaptive technologies can really hopefully make differences in the world. So I am the COO of CELED, which for those of you who do not know, we deliver remote learning and telehealth via mobile messaging across any device in under 3 minutes. So what really is a little bit unique about CELED is you do not need a smartphone or internet access to be able to use CELED. So we really were designed to try to be as universally accessible as possible. Why is that? You know, I think Teneia summed it up beautifully, that it's almost time to tear things down, that the systems have not been working. And that's really what the purpose of CELED was. The systems, especially education systems globally, have not historically worked for those most in need, for the majority of the population. They have been designed, with very few exceptions, whether we're talking India or Kenya or the US, to really cater to the most privileged few. And if those systems aren't working, mobile learning offers a unique way to kind of break through those barriers and to provide real power and solutions directly to end users and learners. So there's not necessarily have to be an intermediary. And we know most people around the world, especially in the US, have access to at least a cell phone, whether they have data plans, whether they have internet access, whether they have a smartphone, may or might not be the case, but they all have access to phones. 98 to 99% of US adults have access to phones, and obviously many youth do as well. So how can we use this technology to really get the essential skills for people to thrive? because less than 1% of most solutions are designed for the actual need. They're either the old systems that we've been talking about and the intermediaries that have not been working for millennia, or they're new technologies that are really designed for me, right, as an MBA or others, to kind of further our education, not for people who are the most vulnerable among us, who really deserve and need solutions to improve their lives. And that's what CELED is really all about. You know, one of the things we've done is we try really hard not to design solutions for people, but really with and by people. One of the things, our core values at CELED is representative teams make representative products. This is our team. We try really hard to make sure we have people who have true lived experiences in one way or the other with learning challenges. We've got people who barely graduated high school with learning differences and dyslexia and other things that the system failed them. We've got recent immigrants. We've got second generation immigrants who grew up in poverty. We try really hard that everyone who works at CELED brings something to the table, and we don't stop there. We need to make sure that we are not designing in a vacuum with ourselves, that we really design not for, but with our learners and with our partners, learning, changing, growing, and being open to suggestions, not simply saying we have a solution, it worked, it's been proven to work according to some institution and research. That's great, we need that research, but we really need to make sure that we're listening to the people and making changes all the time. And that's not easy, right? We've talked a lot this week and weeks about how we use our voice, how we use our power, how we use our talents and our privilege to make change. Many of us have had those conversations this week, and I have to say, you have to institutionalize it. It's a daily practice to check your privilege, to listen, and if you have an experience, bring it to the table, even if that's not your day job. You know, I say something, this story I'm going to tell you is mine because of time. I think, you know, I did not bring that to the table for CELED. So my mom was visiting and we needed a video to be shot for a client. And it was a video of a home healthcare aide needing to take care of a patient. And we needed an elderly patient. My mom happened to be here. And as a scrappy Silicon Valley startup, we used her. I used her. And in that video, the topic was nutrition. And the example that the script used was not wanting the patient, my mom, not being allowed to have fried chicken anymore, but was going to get kind of bland boiled chicken. That was the premise, right? Healthier for you. You don't need fried chicken. There's other ways to cook it. And my mom looked at me in the eye when she was reading the script and practicing, and she gave me this really weird quizzical look like, what is this? For two reasons. Number one, I'm brown and there is a lot of spices. So she's like, this doesn't even make sense. Like, why would this be a thing? We don't eat fried chicken. And if we did, and if we didn't need a fried chicken, there would be no such thing as bland chicken. Like, we've got curry, we've got spices, I've got hundreds of spices. And the second thing is that she is Hindu and a strict vegetarian her whole life. So in two ways, it really denied her culture. And it was silly. It's a little video, right? And instead of stopping it and saying, let's change it from talking about chicken to talking about ghee or some other, you know, issue that would have been more relevant to her, I let it go. I let that kind of white American narrative be what was presented and made my mom fall for that rather than change it. And that's really little. It's a 1-minute video that is now on CELED that, looking back, I should have used my voice. I should have brought my representation to the table and changed it for our learners to be more authentic. And we adapt and collaborate all the time. We do not have all the answers. We work with Barbara Bush Foundation, State of New York, many of those on the call and many others, to really think and listen about the learner needs and what we could do. COVID-19 has really shifted the ballgame as we know it. So we are working with a project in Africa to send out 60,000 families level 1 literacy in 6 to 10 different languages, including tribal languages in Ghana, really clear, small text messages of critical COVID-19 and child protection messages. When we looked at the World Health Organization's customer-facing or consumer-facing or public-facing website, whatever you want to say, the literacy level was level 5. So you would have almost needed a college degree to be able to really understand it. We needed to make that simpler and more accessible and get that information out. We created COVID-19 guides in many languages that are available now for free across the world to ensure people have the information that they need as they need it. We have launched with Barbara Bush Foundation, and we'll hear a little bit more about this, a Million Learner Challenge to get remote learning opportunities into the hands of 1 million learners or more. We're inviting all of you to participate for free over the course of the year, thanks to generous sponsorship of our founders down below, to make sure that during COVID-19, as people are out of work, as people are at home, as there's not colleges and universities and adult schools and a whole lot more available to everyone in the same way it used to be, that we can get to learners and get them the information they need. So we're always looking for ways to take what we have as a tool to really respond to the needs of our community in the time of COVID and beyond, to make sure that we're leaving no one behind. That is what CellEd is, and thank you for including us. And Becky from Barbara Bush Foundation, that you heard from a little bit earlier, is one of our partners in the Million Learner Challenge, so thank you. And as you know, she's devoted her life. So I turn it over to you, Becky, to kind of give your, to present. Thank you.
You have the slides?
I do have the slides.
Thank you. So low literacy is a silent and enduring crisis in our country. There are 36 million Americans, about 20% of the adults in this country, who are not fully engaging in our society as parents, workers, and citizens. It lies at the core of the multi-generational cycles of poverty, poor health, and low educational attainment that impact our families, communities, and our nations as a whole. I have a few stats I'd like to share with you today. The first is on the screen, comes from Dr. Jonathan Rothwell, who's a principal economist at Gallup. He just completed a new economic study for us using the latest data that's available. And it says that basically the US could be losing $2.2 trillion, or 10% of our GDP in economic growth due to low literacy rates. We also know that 53% of adults 25 and over who do not graduate from high school are not in the workforce. And we know that federal, state, and local governments stand to gain about $2.5 billion in tax revenue and reduced expenses for every 400,000 adults who earn a high school diploma. It also impacts health literacy. So limited health literacy is estimated to result in excess costs between $50 billion and $73 billion a year to the US healthcare system. Those are all dollars that impact all of us, not just individual companies or foundations or organizations, but every single taxpayer is impacted by these numbers. Literacy is essential for adults to access their basic needs. Many programs these days require individuals to be able to read forms, use websites effectively, just in order to gain access to everyday resources, supports, and services. At present, our federally funded adult education programs and other corporate efforts aimed at adult ed serve about 2 million individuals. They do a phenomenal job with the limited resources that they have to reach the students that they do. But if they're only reaching 2 million, we have at least 34 million, probably more, adults who need services. We also know that adults have competing priorities, like housing, having a roof over your head, or food. Many people are going hungry these days, and childcare. And they can't always attend classes. So the use of educational technologies can potentially address access and education for the adult population. In 2015, Barbara Bush herself challenged us to think bigger and do more. With her support, the Barbara Bush Foundation took a gamble. We called it our moonshot. We invested $16 million in an adult literacy X Prize competition to incentivize the development of apps for mobile phones to help adults learn to read any place, anytime. At the time the competition was launched, only 2 products were on the market for adult learners. Our final field of semifinalists brought in 4 high-quality programs, one of which was CellEd. Data from the American Community Surveys show us that access to mobile devices is high, and apps on these devices may have further reach to adults who may want to learn on their own at their own pace. Next slide. So Mrs. Bush had very many words of wisdom for all of us. But imagine not being able to help your kids with their homework because you can't understand the instructions. Or imagine being afraid to give them medicine for a cold because you can't read the dosage guidelines on the box. Or not being able to fill out a job application, vote in a general election, or drive somewhere new because you can't always understand and follow the directions. These are all real life struggles of individuals with whom I've worked in the past 45 years. It's heartbreaking. At its heart, low literacy is an issue of equity. It impacts everyone, everywhere. This is not an immigrant issue. 2/3 of our nation's low literate adults were born in the United States. Of those, 35% are white, 34% are Hispanic, and 23% are Black. Nationwide, low literate adults struggle to earn a living wage, participate in the democratic process, and manage their family's health and finances simply because they lack equal access to educational opportunities. Identifying and addressing these disparities is at the core, is a core focus of the work of the Barbara Bush Foundation. Our founder, Barbara Bush, knew instinctively that literacy is critical to the success of not just individuals, but as our nation as a whole. Over the years, her beliefs have been repeatedly validated. Improved literacy rates have the power to strengthen our economy by boosting labor productivity, cutting billions of dollars in healthcare costs, and breaking the cycle of poverty in families in need. Barbara Bush also maintained that a parent is a child's first and best teacher. Yet with 1 in 5 adults unable to read and write at a basic level, we know that millions of parents and caregivers are simply unequipped to support their child's learning. Mothers play an especially critical role as they manage food, medical care, and educational needs for their families. When a mother cannot read, she cannot make informed decisions about her family's health and wellness, much less teach her children to read, with multi-generational consequences. Data shows us that 88% of children under the age of 6 whose parents do not have a high school degree live in low-income families. And 71% of the nearly 58 million adults who did not complete high school have children. There's an enormous gap between available resources and the population in need. This issue is largely ignored, historically underfunded, and woefully under-researched, despite being one of the great solvable problems of our time. We know that this problem is too large for any organization to tackle alone. To solve it, we have to break down silos, galvanize collective action, and fill research gaps. And we're very proud to be partnering with many of the people on this call to make a difference in adult literacy. Next slide. So the foundation would like to further examine the impact of our investments in the Adult Literacy X Prize. We want to work with CELED. We're a founding partner in the CELED 1 Million Learner campaign to try to get the app in the hands of as many adult learners as possible. We're very excited about this partnership, and we're working to identify organizations within our network to help us scale the app. You're right, Sonali, we hope to reach more than 1 million. We're also working with the University of Pittsburgh to pilot and evaluate the CELED app so that when we say CELED is a wonderful app, we have the proof. The Barbara Bush Foundation is also supporting 2 fellows to do research on the use of technology in adult education. Our fellows will generate practical guides, white papers with recommendations, and public research. Dr. Rommel from Texas A&M is going to examine barriers to the use of technology in adult learning programs and the relationships regarding underserved populations and building digital literacies. Dr. Mora from the University of New Mexico will look at who is given an app, who is a given app designed for, what type of literacy is it designed to address, and do the end users use it the way it's supposed to be used? Her 3 basic questions are, what works, when does it work, and how does it work? They have 2 years to complete their research, and we will be publishing their papers when they're done. We're very excited about their work going forward. We hope to add some more Barbara Bush Fellows and be continuing our research in the next few years. We have a number of other technology items that are in our strategic plan and in our work plan, but they have yet to be funded, and so I can't talk about those yet. So right now, CELET is the one that we're focusing our energy on. So thank you very much for having me here today.
And thank you for that, and thank you for your support. I think we will reach more than 1 million, especially if we can get everyone on this call and others to participate. So welcome and join us, please. Laura, Dr. Laura Gonzalez. Hi, Laura. We'd love to hear from you.
Can you hear me and see me?
I can hear you.
Thank you. I had a little technical problem there where the computer turned off, so I panicked.
Oh, no.
But I'm here, perfect timing, I guess. Thank you very much. And again, thank you very much to CELED, to Jessica, to the team, to GlobalMindED, Carol, Barbara Bush Foundation, and everybody for inviting us to participate and share our experiences with mobile technology and why it's important. As I'm representing the Office for New Americans and the state government in New York, and speaking to what is the benefit of having this kind of tools for our community. So first of all, for everyone out there, I would like to share a little bit about what the Office for New Americans is, just to give you some background of why it was important for us to be in these partnerships. The Office for New Americans was created in 2013 by Governor Cuomo with the intent really to provide all immigrants, irrespective of status, across the state with tools in order to be able to participate, communicate with their partners in society, and contribute, and eventually, feel that this was their home, welcoming them. Through the office, we partner with not-for-profit organizations, with legal services across the state. So we create opportunity centers, is what they're called, but we are nested within those organizations. We fund the provision of very key tools, as I mentioned earlier, to become, that participant in the community, and that includes English language, a naturalization, legal services, which unfortunately are very needed now, more, that include from just even the naturalization to becoming a citizen, but mostly even defense, deportation. We have workshops through these centers on know your rights, on what's out there in terms of skill development, workforce development. And we have done this for, as I said, about 7 years now, serving almost about 250,000 immigrants. In the provision of ESOL, CELED is one of our key partners. So the provision of really mobile and adaptive learning tools is very important to ONA because the particular needs and circumstances of our immigrant community, especially for those that are living in remote areas, in rural. So New York, think about it, we often think it's the place, the immigrant state, and we think of them in New York City, but really we're all over the state, including bordering with Canada. And in those areas, it's extremely difficult to access a classroom, for example, for English. It's difficult to even talk to an attorney or walk in the area and get there, even especially during winter. But also there's Wi-Fi issues, connectivity issues. So how can we get there? And this is one of the key issues why we understand these mobile technology, flexible technology, those tools are so important for us. Our directive is to try and reach not just the tools, but information on what is happening at the federal level, what is happening with COVID-19 to immigrants that might be in a farm and they can't get out because there's also no easy transportation, or services are even more limited than we may think of. So really, it's really very important for us to be able to accommodate their work schedules as well. Many immigrants don't work the 9 to 5, as you would imagine, their hours. And these tools of mobility, of adaptive learning, allow for that flexibility. And another key issue is the trust. Our immigrant community right now questions, is afraid of everything. Through the provision of our services, through our opportunity centers, which is what we're calling those organizations that we partner with, it allows the immigrant to know they can trust. And they've built that trust with us through the 5 years with CELED. They know that they can access that information with CELED as well. So that's where these tools are so important to a state government entity like ours. And I wanted to share that with you. So what does, also another question that we always can think is, what does it mean, or why does it mean to be proactive in advancing this equitable access to learning and the pathways? It really means that we need to look for partnerships. As a state government entity, that's what it says to us. We need to partner not just with other not-for-profits, not just with other government entities, but private organizations as well, to enhance that, as I said, that access, that flexibility, because you guys can, you know, be the experts on that area, and we need to hear from you on that. And it also is important because it's an issue of confidentiality. Again, with technology, it's easier, as I might say, for a state to not have that information for us. So it's something that we rely a lot on technology to be able to have confidentiality, cost, and also address, like you mentioned earlier, Sonali, that CELED is really so amazing because you do not need internet, you do not need a fancy phone. And that is also very important for our community, that they can access it in different ways. So being proactive has really, for us, meant that we can develop and implement our own programming that assists our community, and that we can prioritize and keep in mind the need to be equitable. So it's also another issue where these partnerships, mobile and adaptive learning technology, allows us to be equitable to our community. And interestingly, not just to one demographic. Immigrants are, you know, in New York are from all over the world. So we're being equitable to all. We're accessing from different languages, different cultures, and technology has the ability to, you know, help us do that. You were mentioning also what's the importance for partnerships. So it's obviously, for us, it's been very important to partner with CELED for that purpose. So they're very important. Most recently with COVID-19, we surveyed our community, our centers, our providers, and asked what were the highest needs. Not surprisingly, it was, you know, amongst the issues were issues of discrimination, issues of mental health, key workforce, everybody's fear of how they're going to come back and get employment, and even not having the proper information on COVID-19. So the key partnership, once again, with you, with Barbara Bush Foundation and CELED, was to be able to ensure that we could address one of those needs by that information that you provide on COVID. And that we have that tab where it's also specific to New York State, where we share what is the most important for them. So, you know, making sure that they have that has been for us a reassuring point. We also heard from the survey that the question of the jobs. We've created another partnership. We've reached out, again, the importance of private partnerships, to an organization that's called Upwardly Global, where it allows and provides tools to the community to be able to, you know, get recertified, get relicensed, find ways that they can rejoin employment if they lost their job. Many of their tools are right now available and accessible to across the community until October. So we took advantage of that, and through telecommunications, through technology, again, which is as the world has changed, we're making sure that this information reaches even those areas that I mentioned to you that are very rural, very agricultural, where there is no connectivity through our partners, like the North Country, Franklin County, and the border with Canada. So again, I really appreciate the opportunity to share with you from the perspective of a government entity, how important it is to have these partnerships, get the knowledge from you, to assist us to disseminate vital information. And we've been very proud of being partners with CELED for the past 5 years. I think it's now, Jessica, about more or less that, Sonali. So
yep.
Sorry.
Oh, it's just agreeing with you. It's been at least 5 years.
And we've reached over 1,000. We've had over 1,000 graduates. So again, thank you. And I'm happy to, you know, answer questions at some time later if anybody knows or is interested in how, you know, that works for us within our opportunity centers as well, or anything else from the Office for New Americans. But again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for sharing that. It's been a great partnership, and we learned so much from everyone. Waukecha, I would love to hear a little bit from you and your thoughts about how mobile technology makes an impact and what your perspective is.
Yes, thank you, Sonali. So I'm really excited. I gave you a brief introduction of myself, but I'm also here in the capacity as a parent advisor for Ascend at the Aspen Institute. And my work there is centered around developing strategies to advance access to higher education for parenting students using a 2-generation approach of support, which includes supporting the whole family. What's really exciting about the work that I'm able to participate in, and also along with CELED as a helping develop curriculum, is that now I believe it's really apparent to a lot of organizations, and I'm really excited about what was discussed earlier about deconstructing to rebuild, is how important it is to have the voice of those being affected by the change included in the discussions, not just as advisors, but also as change makers and implementers. So that's what's really exciting about the work that CELED is doing, that it's encompassing the voice of those that they are reaching out to help, because that voice is essential to making sure that the new systems that you're creating are effective, efficient, and what is really needed in those spaces that you're trying to implement improvements upon. So from my perspective, what I really want to focus on, or what I really, am really excited about, is that there's this opportunity to have not just student parents, but the whole gamut, and the family perspective. I think that that's also an important aspect of the work that's being produced. And I think it's really important to bring that to the forefront and make sure that all opinions are included when everyone is moving forward with these initiatives. So, and I also wanted to take a moment to comment that a lot of, the speakers before me had a lot of data and a lot of statistics, which I think is very, very good, but I'm more heart-driven and heart-centered. So I think the data and statistics, along with the human aspect of change, is really crucial, and a piece that I would like to, see more organizations keep in the forefront of their initiatives.
Actually, on that question or that comment, I would love to ask you what you think, because one of the things CELED kind of says sometimes is we're mobile first, but not mobile only, in the sense that we really do believe in the power of, and I know you're a coach yourself, your background is quite amazing. I feel like you do everything, but and do it wonderfully, but we say we're mobile first, not mobile only, in the sense that we pair every learner with a coach, and we feel like that's really critical to success. But I would love to hear from that human heart perspective, what that means to you, because I know we've talked about this as CELED a little bit with you.
So the human aspect, the heart aspect, that encompasses meeting people where they are and bringing the technology and the education to them, which really, really impresses me, and why I was so drawn to CELED, because it's not, here's the information, now you come get it. It's no, okay, you're there. We're not going to make you try to disseminate what's being explained. We're going to disseminate it for you, so that, and build upon that. So that's what and that's the heart and the human portion. It's not assuming that that we're all afforded the same opportunity and access to learn the language that other people are speaking. Sometimes you have to coach and get people up there, and you have to meet them there to get them, to where you want them to be.
Thank you. Sharon?
So I love what Waukecha just said, because I think that's what adult education is all about. It's meeting the learner where they are. And one of the things that we saw recently is that we had to take all of our programming and put it online. So this put quite a bit of onus on these teachers, many of them who are already strapped for time and strapped for resources, strapped for funding, many of them who are sort of not really interested in working online. They really love that in-person to person approach. Now they had to do everything differently. They had to now work with adult learners online. They had to implement new strategies even for enrollment and for testing, right? So this was huge, trying to figure that piece out. So if you want to go to the next slide, please, that would be great. COVID-19, COEB went ahead and put out a survey to our field. We had about 1,500 responses. And when we tabulated, what we were so amazed by is probably what everybody else is saying is just common sense. But one of the biggest things all the teachers were talking about, and administrators in our field were talking about, the need to have more online resources, the need for more online training. So that was, a huge takeaway, of course. And what we thought was really interesting, we've been conducting webinars since COVID-19 hit we've had almost 30,000 enrollments in our webinars. They typically have about 300. So we've had well over 1,000, some of them 2,000 enrollees per webinar. So the field is very hungry for this, the field of adult education. Teachers and administrators really need these resources. When we speak to the figure of the 28 million Americans who do not have the basic digital literacy skills that they need, and yet they're operating computers every day, you know, that's just one of those figures that I think about a lot and think, how can we help these adult learners? I love the tool, the CellEd tool that is an option. I love the fact that so many foundations and funders are now thinking about how they can support the adult education field, because it's really critical. So a little bit about our organization, the Coalition on Adult Basic Education. We support the field of adult ed primarily through teachers and administrators. So there's 2,000 plus federally funded programs across the country. And then as Becky was saying, there's about, I think about 3,000 CBO programs across the country. Together we serve over 2 million, but the 1.5 million are those that are federally funded adult learners that we're working with. So next slide, please. So COABE is really, we've been trying to be proactive. We hold national meetings. We have a national conference that we took virtual. That means all of our online programming for more than 300 sessions is now going to be virtual, whereas that was an in-person conference in the past. I mentioned our ongoing webinars where we have, we've had over 30,000 enroll since COVID hit. And of course our journal is now online. It's online via Shopify and Amazon. So those are the ways that we're being proactive. But I also just wanted to mention that we have some really neat partnerships. We're partnering again with Google to push out the applied digital literacy skills. So we did boot camps across the country last year. We're now drilling down, instead of working at the state level, we're drilling down to the local level, working with those 2,000 plus programs. We also have a partnership that's in the works with IBM, with a platform that they had built out. So we're working on that. We also have our 100 plus national partners where we're working with many different organizations, including Amazon and some others, to really try to push forward with the digital literacy program. And of course, we're partnering with Digital Us, which probably many of you have heard about, that world that is really heading up. So those are some ways that we're working here on this end. And I just wanted to part with a few statistics to Waukecha's point. I mean, on one hand, it's like we're all heart, absolutely. On the other hand, we need good statistics, right? So just some quick statistics. 88 million adults have only a high school education or less. 30 million adults do not have a high school diploma at all colleges, and 63% of all US jobs require education have at least a high school diploma. 20% of adults with a high school diploma have only beginning literacy skills. And 66% of US adults scored at the lowest levels in solving technology problems. Low-skilled adults are 2 times more likely to be unemployed, 3 times as likely to be in poverty, 4 times as likely to be in poor health, and 8 times as likely to be incarcerated. And for the working poor, less than half of our learners are employed. However, they are often underemployed or employed in part-time positions when they are employed. They are the first out of the economy and the last back in. So when we look at what's happened with the COVID-19, it's a huge disproportionate effect on our adult learners. So who are our adult learners? We're looking at displaced homemakers of 21,000, homeless and runaways, 18,000, foster care and those that have aged out, over 6,000, migrant and seasonal workers, more than 10,000, the long-term unemployed. I mean, this number is higher now, but at the time when I put together my slides, 65,000. We're looking at 943,000 English language learners, ex-offenders, 92,000, the learning disabled, more than 63,000. So you can see we're really working with those who have the most barriers to employment. Huge numbers, right? But what's really neat is that there's a wonderful return on investment. Do you know that there's a $2.5 billion in tax revenue and reduced expenses for every 400,000 adults who earn a high school diploma, which is a savings of $6,250 per person. And often our funding at the federal level is much less than $1,000 per pupil. So there's a huge return on investment there. 47% of all GED recipients go on to higher education and have a 90% rate of persistence. So, you know, from our standpoint, we feel like digital literacy is really important. Absolutely, that's one aspect of adult education and what we do every day. within those 2,000 plus programs across the country. Thank you, Sonali.
Thank you, Sharon. That was great. I love the mix between heart and the numbers because I think both are so important. Gracias. Speaking of heart and numbers, I feel like you also kind of really espouse both really dearly. So, Gracia?
Sure. So can you go to the next one,
Of course.
please? Yeah, so I wanted to bring the perspective of, as a teacher, right, as well, why mobile and adaptive learning matters. So I see this through two lenses, and encompassing one main idea that I believe mobile and adaptive learning gives them empowerment to both teachers and learners. So for teachers, it really allows them to engage with students and personalize education in a way that they were never able to do so. And I speak here through my role as a coach at Select, for example. Really through a technology like Select, being a coach, I'm a teacher in a different way, because mobile and adaptive learning really fundamentally to me is a new way of teaching and learning. So you become a coach, you become a mentor, and you are able to cater and to address the needs of the student in a more engaging, active way. And then for the learner, like a lot of you already mentioned, right? Adult learners are the non-traditional learners, so they need the freedom of studying anytime and anywhere. So with mobile learning, what I see is that this can really help them access education when they need it, where they need it, and in a form that they can best utilize. And as you already mentioned, we know that they, and most of them already own a phone, so they can have access to that. It gives them that freedom. And then opportunity. So a lot of your statistics show, right? And in my work in the past with service sector workers, we know that a lot of them have the same hurdles and the same barriers to education and to literacy access. So really accessing mobile learning helps close that skill gaps and adapt to the work. And I also was thinking here as teachers, as learners as well. So working at the ESL school, here adapting to the COVID reality, I've had to help teachers adapt to the new reality of teaching. And a lot of them don't have a computer. They are older teachers that don't own a laptop. So mobile learning for them is the way to not only like close the skills gap, their own skills gap as how to use the phone as a way to deliver education for their learners. So it gives them that opportunity to go beyond. So teachers are also adult learners. So they are learning to use that technology in a flexible and accessible way. Can you go to the next one, please? And then when I think about the question of what equitable access to learning is and how to be proactive about it, I thought of like three things that, that came to my mind. So the first one in terms of being proactive is to learn. So at the individual level, to me, that means asking those questions. As a teacher, for example, what can I do to ensure that my students who lack access to internet can be served? Who can I work with to ensure that those students can access that technology? And then at the organizational level, what professional development does my staff need? Like Sharon mentioned, the adult education practitioners are hungry for that. They're hungry for getting those, that training, those skills. So asking questions to really understand the issue, I think it's really important in being proactive, examining what's happening in the national landscape as well, taking note of what policies are happening and are being considered, and then moving on to collaboration. So I think teamwork makes it happen, right? Both for educators, for parents, for organizations, and again, at the individual level, when I think of my role as a teacher, in collaboration and proactivity for equity, it means to finding the right team where I can share ideas, where we can help each other learn the skills that we need to adapt to this new reality. And at the larger, bigger level is finding organizations like Select, right? Those experts that are already doing good work, and how can we partner or collaborate with them? So I really see it as a multi-stakeholder approach where we all have a common goal to finding solutions. So it's finding that team, what your team will be. And the last thing I see as being proactive in equity is leading. So if you can, become a champion for that. And once again, at the individual level, as a teacher, for example, in my work is finding those teachers that perhaps were already skilled with classroom technology, helping those less tech-savvy teachers adapt to that reality. And then perhaps also influencing your administrators by teaming up with fellow teachers, asking changes to be made. And then at the larger level, right, like model best practices. And again, I bring SELED, right, with the 1 million learner challenge. They are leading the way, right? They are becoming the champions to making that commitment, to making materials accessible for adults across the nation and across the world. So it's really broadening those contexts, because I believe that in technology, we've seen, right, the systems exist, there's so many learning tools, but how can we broaden that to the context of the learners that we serve, those low literacy, underserved, what needs to happen in that arena. And the last one, please, Sonali. And yes, a lot of you already mentioned collaborations happening. From my perspective, some of the ones I've seen that have been exciting and useful at the local level are like the EdTech Center at WorldEd, offering a lot of resources for teachers, collaborating with OTAN here in California, and links to offer webinars. And I guess, as Sharon mentioned, right, COAVE is at the same time collaborating with other organizations to equip teachers with what they need for adapting to being mobile teachers, teaching with mobile and adaptive technology. And at the global level, there's a lot of things happening. I just wanted to highlight some of the things I read about happening in other countries, like Spain, Colombia, and Argentina, having collaborations with the local TV and radio stations to provide access to education via TV and radio. And of course, UNESCO has curated a list of very useful distance learning resources, including SELED. So I think what we can conclude is that I want to conclude is by saying that the conversation is happening, and I think COVID has pushed us to understand that there's a revolution happening in education, and that hopefully the dialogue continues.
Thank you, Grazia. We have a few minutes left. We started with Teneia, which was amazing. I'm hoping those of you who are able to hear Teneia sing were here. For those who are not, we are hosting a happy hour with Teneia, or for everyone on the call, right after this. It's a virtual happy hour, so let's bring your own. But Teneia will be singing from her beautiful new album. Teneia, do you have anything you want to say about that, or Jessica, before we kind of do two more quick things and then wrap up?
No, I just hope you guys will join us, and I'm excited to play for you. Got some new tunes. My album is called Black Empress. If you don't stay for the live performance, it's on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, all digital platforms, so you can listen there.
Perfect. So if you're interested, just stay on the line, right? Like, it's going to be on this link, right? So just keep listening. That's the beautiful new album cover. Look at that artwork. It's so powerful. I love it. There we go. If you want to, please invite others to this amazing, inspiring, hopefully event that you guys can all join. Becky, we said this at the beginning, but we do really want to take a moment on your 40 plus years of service and thank you for everything, because I know you're officially retired in what, 2 days, 1 week? It's coming up. So thank you, thank you, thank you for everything you've done for the field.
Thank you very much. I have 2 more days.
2 more days, not even, that's amazing. So thank you. And thank you for being such an amazing partner.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed it.
And last but not least, I know you've heard us talk about the SELED Million Learner Challenge. We are inviting you to participate. You can go to www.seled.com/million and sign up to be a partner. We are offering free English life and work skills as well as COVID-19 information to keep everyone safe. You can see the list of courses, everything from English, which everything at SELED is integrated and designed for adults. So the English classes have work and life and digital literacy skills, health literacy, how to be a better parent. Everything is kind of built in. Parenting skills is kind of built into that program. Same with math for life and work and reading for life and work in our work ready. So please, 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 if you're interested, if you have learners who would be interested in, or partners who have learners, please have them sign up at seled.com/million or just million. any other notes, especially Carol and the GlobalMindED team, before we move into happy hour?
You know, I just want to thank all of you and just say that I think your work is tremendous. And a lot of people right now in the US feel overwhelmed that the various, you know, the trifecta of the COVID, job loss, some people have lost, you know, family members, and then the racial issues going on. And this is something so positive, that's so action oriented, that people can get involved with and be part of something specific that transforms all of those different things. And so I just want to acknowledge it's such a pleasure to work with you all the last few years, and to see the incredible way that your work has really exploded at such an important time. And we look forward to supporting you all in so many other ways, and hopefully seeing everybody. Becky will celebrate you next year in person, but we still want to get you to Denver next year. And also want to say on Monday, we will have been through 50 sessions, which is about not quite half of what GlobalMindED would have been, but we'll be with the World Academy of Art and Science and the UN Geneva folks. And we'll be doing a session called, it's the first day of their event, and it's kind of the last day of our event. So we're conjoining them, and it's called Education, Entrepreneurship, Employment, and Equity. So we'll have people from all around the world, part of the World Academy of Art and Science and the UN Geneva folks. So hope you can join us, anybody who's listening for that. And we will have this posted to YouTube by tonight, and then tomorrow it'll be in our newsletter that will be going out. So you can share it with different folks that way. And then we'll also have it on our Facebook site. It's been broadcasting live, and then you can share it from the GlobalMindED Facebook to your site as well, and I'll be sharing it to my personal site. So thanks again, and can't wait to see you all in the Teneia event in just a few minutes. And thanks again so much for your wonderful leadership.
Carol, is the Teneia event on this Zoom, or is there another Zoom everyone needs to go through?
I think this is our Zoom. Celeste, you let us know. I think we have to go to your Zoom. Is that right, Jessica?
That is correct.
So we'll need to just
hosted by VilCap.
Yeah, so Village Capital is sponsoring this, and this is the Zoom. You guys are all invited, and invite your friends. And there's no limit, so we can have, you know, a few thousand people at this. So we'll see you guys, and I'm gonna go get a glass of
virtual concert. Exactly. Take a break, get wine, and meet us there.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
So great to see you.
Thank you, everyone.
You guys are the best. Thank you, Celeste. See you guys in 2 minutes.